Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, and I'm here with attorney Cesar Gavidia, and we'd like to talk about some cases that we've resolved on behalf of our clients, and this one's a Northwestern Mutual long-term disability claim. And Cesar, in these cases, we talk about the history of the claim, the facts behind why the client was disabled, some issues that came up with the claim, and then how the claim was resolved to the satisfaction of the client. So let's get into the background of this particular claim.
So, Greg, our client here was a pediatric surgeon, specifically an ophthalmologist. He was involved in performing very, very delicate surgeries, glaucoma surgeries on children. Believe it or not, children can, get glaucoma, and all sorts of different type of real delicate eye surgeries. I mean, we're talking about surgeries that involve basically using microscopes, lasers, and having just the ability to make micro movements to repair whatever problems and disorders that are occurring in the child's eye. So as you can imagine, I mean, it really takes an extreme amount of precision, attention, focus, concentration. And our client, after some time, also a very active guy, and was healthy, other than his issues that arose from his neck disorder and in his hands, almost possibly an occupational disability, if you will. I mean, you see a lot, or you hear a lot of surgeons and people who have to maintain certain static positions for a long time, or maintaining their neck in a particular position, or using their hands repeatedly. They develop these arthritic issues over time. They develop these complications in their spine over time. They could otherwise be completely healthy. He was running marathons, half marathons, and I think had even done an ultra marathon at some point. And you being a marathon runner, you know how difficult that is. But we're not talking about surgeries here when we're talking about those types of physical activities. It's two totally different types of movements that are involved in physical ability.
With most of our surgeons are required to perform fine motor skill activities.
Right.
And gross motor skill activities are really most of the normal activities of daily living that people do every day. But the fine motor skills that require minute movements and working within millimeters, especially within a child's eye, being off by a millimeter can cause a child to be blind, especially in this case. So obviously
Absolutely.
A tremendous concern. So what were the limitations that your client was?
So one of the problems he had was that he was having so much numbness and pain and difficulty in moving his hands and his fingers that he had to go from using his right hand to using his left hand, almost predominantly. And that was, I mean, you're talking about a surgeon having to go to do something like that and to try to accommodate himself by doing that. It's almost, something that you would think that shouldn't be necessary. You have these disability insurance policies for exactly this reason. But I think when you think about physicians in particular that go into pediatrics, they do it for really the love of that particular, specialty in that practice. So he wanted to continue doing what he was doing for as long as he can continue doing it, even through a lot of the struggles he was having. But came a point where he basically couldn't function. He knew he couldn't function anymore. He knew that he could be potentially causing more damage than he's actually helping with these particular patients. And he filed claims on his two policies. He had one with his employer, which was a group disability policy, with a different insurer, and then his individual policy with Northwestern Mutual.
And was his claim approved or denied initially?
It was unfortunately denied. Like most insurance companies, Northwestern Mutual goes through a process of having a review done of the claim and of the case. And in this particular case, they reached out to a physician, a physiatrist, to do a review of the claim. And that doctor reviewed the MRIs, reviewed EMG nerve conduction studies, which were all, positive. They all showed that there was not only, problems in his cervical spine, also problems in his hands, but the opinions of this doctor were basically that this is really kind of age-related issues, and that really there wasn't real proof there to them or to him that there was an impairment to the level that would prevent him from performing his surgical duties.
So did they ever examine the client?
They never did a physical examination.
So how can, and this is with any of the cases, how can a doctor who's never seen the patient make a determination as to his level of pain, number one, and number two, functional capabilities just based upon a review of a diagnostic study such as an MRI?
I mean, in my opinion, they really can't. They really shouldn't. I mean, it's not the way that you see medicine practiced. I mean, if you call your physician and you tell him, Doc, I'm having this pain in my neck, I'm having these problems in my arm, the doctor doesn't tell you, well, stay home, let me prescribe these medications to you, and don't bother coming in. No, they want you to come in, they want to review, and they're probably going to send you to an MRI so that they could see what's going on inside. And they're probably going to do a full physical examination. I mean, that is the protocol to diagnose something, to reach a prognosis, to prescribe any necessary therapies or medications.
And what a lot of the insurance companies don't do is they don't have patients examined because it's a cost-saving measure for them, or it's an easy way out to just say, let's get a doctor, they review the records, they find a disagreement with the treating doctors, and if we have a reasonable basis to rely upon that, which in the world of disability insurance, it could be a reasonable basis to rely on a hired doctor who's potentially independent, and that in itself is enough, and deny a claim and hope a claimant goes away. Fortunately, most people don't go away. They hire a lawyer, someone to help them through this process, and oftentimes they can present enough evidence to get the claim reversed in many cases. So but you're right, it is disturbing that someone, and it's the way the industry works. Because like you just said, if your neck was hurting you and you called the doctor, you said, get an MRI and send it to me and I'll tell you if you're really hurting or not. But in that case, even that might even still work because the doctor's communicating with you. And we always say, and the doctors who have been treating forever, they always know, you don't treat the chart, you treat the patient. Because when these doctors went to med school and they saw 10 different MRIs and they said to them, who here is in pain? An experienced doctor would be maybe none of them, maybe all of them. I don't know. This person over here could have some gigantic tumor and has no idea of what's going on, but has absolutely no pain. And then the guy over here has an absolutely beautiful spine that looks normal for a 45-year-old person and has no pain at all. So they always treat the patient and not the chart. So you get presented, the client calls you and says, look, I've been denied, can you help me? What did you do?
Typically the next stage is when you see an individual disability claim denied, the options on the table are rather limited. I mean, you're either going to have to file suit for breach of contract, or if there's an opportunity to perfect the claim, if there's some level of imperfection, or you can provide additional records that might shed some light on some issues that Northwestern had with the claim, then you can do that. But what the route that we took with the client was basically to engage with Northwestern Mutual and try to come to some resolution, and that's what we did. It was a resolution that was basically acceptable to both. Every case is unique. I mean, you have individual disability policies and group disability policies and all these insurance policies that we've reviewed thousands of, and we start seeing, you see the same language, you see very similar terms and provisions and conditions, and then we've talked about these claims so many times, you even see this, kind of the same process in terms of how a claim is reviewed, what process they take to assess whether there's a level of impairment or limitation, and whether they should pay the claim. But even then, claims are still unique, and especially in the approach you take to try to resolve that at a level that is acceptable to your client. So we were able to achieve that, thankfully, and he's happy, and Northwestern Mutual is satisfied.
And every disability company acts differently, and we've said before, it's no secret, Northwestern's one of the more reasonable companies, especially in the world of individual disability insurance, although they do group insurance as well. And so many other law firms want to race to file a lawsuit go crazy, talk a bunch of nonsense about a company, and it's not our perspective here. We're going to look at the hard facts of every single case and reach out to contacts that we've had for more than 20 years at every single company, not just Northwestern, and say, hey, what is it that's bothering you about this claim? What else do you need in order to pay this claim? Why aren't you paying this claim? And I feel that Northwestern Mutual is one of those companies that we can talk to. There are some other companies that we may have mentioned in our other videos where it's just like, they don't want to hear from you. They don't care. Their motto is deny, sue us, we'll work it out in the courts, we'll drag you to the last minute, and then maybe we'll pay you, or maybe we'll get a verdict that will be bad publicity for us. Northwestern Mutual is one that fortunately, especially with our firm, we've had the opportunity to have the ability to reach resolutions without having necessarily delay 12 months, 18 months, or 2 years through extensive litigation. And I just think that's because they value our ability to put them through the ringer of doing everything. And they also are smart enough to say, look, we don't need to, we know the facts of what's going on here. We don't need to litigate for the next 2 years to try to reach a resolution. Not to say we're always going to reach a resolution, but the client may be willing to engage in some kind of negotiation or situation up front to say, you know what, that's reasonable enough for me, I understand what's going on, or no, it's not, and I want a jury, 6 people I never met in my life, to make the decision down the road. Either way, we're going to fight like hell to do whatever the client wants. And so, but people should know if they have Northwestern, if they need assistance with a claim, that there may be other opportunities besides just pulling the trigger and filing the lawsuit. And you know, Cesar, we've said it in all of our cases where we talk about litigation, especially individual, that we never just jump the gun unless we have a statute of limitations issue, because usually we want to build more evidence to make the claim stronger. So, well, congratulations on this claim, and it's glad that it reached a resolution. I know you've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of surgeons all over the country. So if you're someone who has a Northwestern Mutual long-term disability claim, feel free to reach out to Cesar, myself, no matter where you live in the country. We're always available to assist you. We'll provide you an immediate free consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to discuss your claim with you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.